We are in the round 6 of the Norway Classic. We are in the Armageddon phase, which means that the player with the white pieces, in this case Wesley, has 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the player with the black pieces, in this case Tari, has 7. If the black player wins, he wins, but if they draw, the black player still wins. So the white player needs to win the game. And the story is this: Wesley after round 5 is in position number 3 behind Wiswanathan Anand and Magnus Carlsen, because he yesterday lost to Shakhriyar Mamedyarov in the Armageddon phase again. So today he needs to win. And well, let's see what happened. c4 by Wesley, e6 by Tari, knight c3, putting the knight behind the pawn which is already pushed, and now d5, striking in the center, d4, controlling it, and c5. So Tari is really attacking the center here of Wesley. C takes d5, a very sensible move, simply taking towards the center, and now e takes d5. Knight f3 by Wesley, developing the pieces, and here knight c6, again developing this knight behind the pawn. And now g3. This is a very typical idea in the English opening, simply putting this bishop on this long diagonal. And the reason is, since you play c5 and there is no e-pawn, this d5 pawn is actually weak because it can't be defended by another pawn. And so by playing this maneuver g3 bishop g2, you want to target this pawn. Is quite an interesting idea. Knight f6 now was played, and here bishop g2. Keep going with the plan. And now c takes d4, knight takes d4, and here bishop c5, attacking this knight. And here, if you take, in the game knight b3 was played, but if you take the knight on c6, b takes c6, and as you can see suddenly this pawn here on d5 is defended. And so the whole strategy kinda fails a little bit. That's why knight b3 was played, attacking the bishop, and here bishop b6, controlling this knight and defending the bishop. But here there is knight takes d5, because as you can see here, this pawn is attacked 3 times and defended only 2. So knight takes d5 is actually playable, but here there is bishop e6. And here e4 was played. If you take here, let me see what happened according to the engine. Queen takes f6, castle, castle, bishop d2 for example, because otherwise the rooks attack the queen. And after, queen takes b2. Okay, so the concept is this. Let's go back. Here the concept is, if you do nothing about this queen, the rooks are simply gonna attack her. But if you do something like bishop d2 defending the queen, queen takes b2 regain the pawn, and this is considered equal by the engine. So that's the point. So let's go back. In the game e4 was played, trying to defend the knight, but here there is bishop g4, attacking the queen. Queen d2, moving the queen out of the way, and now knight takes d5. And here e takes d5 by Wesley. The computer thinks that playing queen takes d5 is better, maybe because you want to allow this bishop to move a little bit more freely, but okay, e takes d5 was played, and now queen e7 check. King f1 was played now. Okay, king f1 is okay, but here long castle by Tari, and this long castle, the engine really doesn't like it, because maybe the king is a little bit too much unsafe. The engine prefers actually what they prefer. Let me check. Knight e5. Okay, they prefer knight e5, maybe trying to go here and forcing maybe a bishop trade for the knight, which is convenient for black, because then you force king g1 and the king doesn't have much space. But okay, long castle was tried, because the idea is that you cannot take because you drop the queen, but here there is h3. And now comes a crazy sequence of moves, guys, be ready. So first of all, bishop f5, which is a blunder according to the engine, because you want to play bishop e6. And this is a crazy move, because you basically put yourself in a fork, but the concept is, once again, you can't take either of these pieces because your queen drops. And the point is that you are attacking 2 times this pawn. So after, for example, queen e1, there is bishop takes d5, queen takes e7, and knight takes e7, bishop f4, and here simply like knight c6, the computer is saying. And as you can see here, the position is equal / slightly better for black, but is basically equal. But okay, bishop f5 was played, and this is wrong because of not d takes c6, because here Wesley actually sacrificed the queen, but it's a blunder. The move was queen f4, and basically the concept is you are gaining a tempo on the bishop, and the knight is also under attack. So for example, g6, and here taking this knight is risky because of rook d1 checkmate, Yeah, guys, I didn't saw it. I needed the engine. Yep, exactly. All right. So d takes c6 was played, but what if, for example, after queen f4, which is the variation, g6 is better for black, and here again bishop d2, trying to stop this rook d1 mate, so you are actually threatening the knight, but here knight e5, and once again the computer thinks that no, actually white here is better. Yeah, here white it will be better, but d takes c6 was played, and now actually black is winning according to the engine. But the point here is, here you have to play the move b takes c6. This is craziness, guys, because if you play rook takes d2, well, guys, this is winning for white, but I'm not gonna tell you why. Feel free to stop. This is not actually winning for white. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. As usual, there is a move that survives for white. It's not winning, but survives. So feel free to stop the video and found it. Okay, maybe your first instinct is to take back the rook, but it's very important that you learn this. There are sometimes what is called in-between moves. As you can see, there is a pawn here. If you simply take the rook, they are gonna take back. So you want to play c takes b7 check first. So you secure this pawn, which is defended by the bishop, and after king b8, which is basically forced, now you have bishop takes d2. And now, by the way, there is this threat of bishop f4, which will force some bishop c7 stuff, so maybe first rook c1 and then you're threatening bishop f4, winning the game. So a6 was played with the idea, which is a blunder, with the idea that after you go here there is this, but better was, according to the engine, to play bishop e4 and trying to actually stop this communication over here. But okay, a6 was played, and here there is the move rook e1. Queen f6, trying to save the queen, pressuring this pawn, but now king g1, moving out of this way, which was quite annoying, and here there is bishop e6, which actually is threatening this pawn. And here king h2, which the computer thinks is an inaccuracy because bishop f4 check, interrupting this communication is better. And after a7, king h2 now, and for example after, well, h5 is not a move that a human will play, so let's see bishop takes f2, this is something that I will play as black, and let's see how badly I lose. Rook hf1, and what if they take? You have, oh, bishop e3, okay, so they are not gonna take, but if they don't take, well, they have to move the bishop. Let's say they move the bishop here, what is gonna happen? b8 equals queen, rook takes b8, and here the problem is that you play bishop takes b8 with check, winning the queen. So all this variation leads to losing of the queen. So that's why in the actual game king h2 was played. I mean, no, that's an inaccuracy by Wesley, okay, but okay, he decided to play king h2, and here king a7, which is another inaccuracy. So let's see what happens if you take this. If you take this, I guess the same variation. No, bishop f4 check first, king a7, and here rook hf1. So this is basically the same variation as before. So let's go back to the game, king h2, and now king a7 we said, and here queen takes, sorry, once again confusing myself. Oh, bishop c3 was played, and as you can see, guys, I want to stop for a second. White bishops are really beautiful, the rook is active, this knight is ready to jump in really inconvenient squares, and here queen takes f2 was played, and this is the last inaccuracy. Now, rook hf1 was played by Wesley, the queen needs to move away, so queen c2, but here knight d4, once again attacking the queen. This queen is really almost trapped, so bishop takes d4, luckily is allowed, but here bishop d4 check. Now the king is forced to stay in the front of the pawn, but now bishop e5 check, king a7 once again, and here bishop d4 check once again, king b8, and here if Wesley play bishop e5, Tari can say, okay, this is a draw by repetition because I'm gonna play king a7, that's how it works. But here Wesley plays the amazing move. Actually, feel free to stop the video and find the winning move for white here. Okay, and the winning move here is rook takes e6, and the reason is that you just want to remove a very active piece for black, and after f takes e6 we have 3 pieces against the queen, and you may say, well, but black has also a rook, but it's like it doesn't, because it's on a8, it doesn't make sense. So bishop e5 was played here, and after king a7, bishop d4 check once again, king b8. Here Wesley is doing this to gain some times, and here actually bishop takes g7 was played, and the threat is to play rook f8 check. Well, first of all, the threat is to win the rook, but besides that, the threat is rook f8, trading rooks, and then checking the king again, and once the king moves, you are actually gonna promote and win the game. And this is basically what happened. Rook e8, bishop e5 check once again, king a7, and here bishop d4 check again to gain time, king b8, bishop e5 check, king a7, and now rook f7 finally. And you're threatening to promote, checking from the queen and from the rook, so threatening to promote with a mate. Okay, so king b6 was basically forced, but now b8 equals queen. Rook takes b8, bishop takes b8, and here, as you can see, Wesley has two minor pieces and a heavy piece against the queen, but this is the bishop pair. This is completely winning for Wesley. a5 was tried, but here, of course, if you take the pawn, well, let me know in the comments here, if black takes the pawn, what is white's next move? It's quite easy for some people, maybe for someone it's harder. Let me know what happened. Okay, but a5 was played, and here bishop e5, simply defending this pawn now and threatening all sort of infiltration over here. a4 was tried, but here rook b7 check. If the king goes here or here, where here he can't, but if the king goes on c5, there is this. So king a6 was played, but here a3, very simply stopping this pawn from advancing. Queen e2, trying to target this bishop, so bishop d4, threatening this check, which is very annoying, and now e5, trying to attack the bishop, but here rook e7, and if you take my bishop, I'm gonna take your queen. So h5 was tried, but here after rook e6, Tari resigned the game. And the reason why he resigned is because, if you notice, all these squares are controlled by white. So here Tari has only those two moves, but whatever he chooses, let's say this, there is this, and this is a fork. And you basically are forced to take here, and this is of course completely winning for white, 2 pieces up. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Sorry if my commentary was a little bit shaky today, but it's very late here and I needed to talk a little bit calmly. So thank you very much guys for watching. I'll see you the next time. Enjoy your chess.